Hello and welcome back to NPC, that stands for Next Portable Console. And today, the next portable console is the RG Rotate. We're going to be talking about that. I'm Federico and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Brendon Bigley. Hello, Brendon.
Hello. I have both Rotate models.
Both of them?
In hand,
I only have the one. This will be a really good episode to watch the video version, if only because you can see us fidgeting with the
Rotate, yeah.
We're also joined by John Voorhees. Hello, John. Also rocking an RG Rotate.
I am indeed, with Cocoon running on it. So, hey, good to see you, Federico.
John,
we missed you last week.
I'm so glad to be back. And I was supposed to be getting this tomorrow, and it came a day early. Perfect timing for talking about it on NPC. You guys did an excellent job last week, so thank you.
Thank you. Can I say at the top before we're going to talk about the Rotate? That'll probably be the last segment of the day. We're going to do some follow up and then some news very quickly. I will say for all three of us, except John, actually, or for Federico and I think we've had the Rotate for such a short period of time that for us it'll probably be more like setup and impressions related.
Yes.
John, I think, probably has spent more time actually using it.
I have, although I've had it only one day more than you guys, so it hasn't. True. I can't say that I've played hours and hours of games on it, but it's, I have had it a little longer. It's funny because actually, I think ours were in the same shipment to the U.S., Brendon. They both landed in New York. They were in a warehouse somewhere in like Queens, I think.
Yep.
And then ended up getting to North Carolina before it got to
Brooklyn.
Day
before it went. It went from Queens, New York, to South Carolina, 24 hours faster than it went from Queens, New York, to Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
Which I think just goes to show that they really need to build a subway between Brooklyn and Queens. That's for like the 5 people who are New Yorkers here. But yes, I also got it. I got the Rotate like after being out for an entire day. So I got home that night, unboxed it, woke up the next morning and started setting it up, but then also needed to go out for a full day after that. So I basically just had 6 or 7 hours of using it, but one of those hours was on the subway yesterday.
Oh, that's good to know.
Which was great. So I did get to test it out in the wild.
The official.
And then I got home yesterday and the black one was in. Shout out to Anbernic for sending me the black one also to test. But yeah, we'll talk about that at the end of the
good.
episode.
The official Brendon Bigley subway test. We always appreciate this.
It's important.
The real follow up we have though, Federico, is we want to understand what was the blinds crisis that you had, because I had to try to explain to people why you weren't here last week.
All right, so you see this window. So again, this is also an audio podcast, but there's also a video version. So bear with me.
There's a window behind Federico.
If you're watching the video version, there's a window behind me with a
close your eyes. Imagine a person. Imagine behind that person is a window.
I don't know if you can see it, but no, you cannot see it. So we have, how do you call them in America? Rolling shutters, maybe?
Yes, that's what I would call them, yeah.
They're obviously very, like the default in Europe. And they are, back in the day, they used to be manual. You would have like a little cord that you would need to operate manually. Now they're all electric. So we have buttons in the wall to, basically close them and open them. This one in the office. So these shutters, they're comprised of these multiple elements. They're
slats,
tied,
I would call them, maybe.
Slats, yes, thank you. They're tied together by little hinges made of aluminum, I think. And over time, with wear and tear and dust, the elements, you name it, they get damaged, especially if you open them and close them every day for the past 4 years since we've been living here. And essentially, some of them where they started showing this empty space between them, which is not supposed to happen. And that causes a bunch of problems. The most obvious one is that light leaks in the morning. So you're not completely in the dark, but you get woken up by the sunlight sort of entering in between the slats of the rolling shutter, which is annoying. But the more serious problem is that they get thrown out of axis over time. So they start making this ugly noise and eventually they break. So we ended up in this situation where the shutter was not closing or opening completely anymore. So we had to have a technician come in, disassemble the whole thing, open up the like the place where the engine is, and essentially try to realign all the slats. And he did a pretty good job, but I think we're gonna have to end up purchasing replacement slats, like 5 or 6 of them, because they are showing signs of wear and tear. So there's nothing. The guy was able to realign them, but they're gonna break eventually, like, sooner rather than later. So that was the problem. And then also in the bedroom, we needed to have the engine itself replaced, because that can also break over time.
Interesting.
Engines are sort of certified for a certain amount of time and a certain amount of weight that they need to pull up and pull down. So over time, you got to replace them. They're like this.
It's like folds on a folding phone.
Yes. Yeah.
Rated for a certain number of folds. I have 2 things to say about this. Number 1, thank you for illuminating what a blinds emergency is for our listeners and for me. Number 2, one thing I learned, or really just kind of came to realize after last week's episode without you in it, is that somehow you are the person who keeps John and I on the rails when we do this podcast.
Yes, we had this epiphany at the end of the episode that you're the glue of this.
You're the glue of the show. Without you in it, John and I talk about whatever,
anything that's on our minds.
I noticed. Well, but I am glad to hear that, for better or worse. I'm glad to be the glue.
Every show needs somebody doing it.
Yes, and another piece of follow-up, by the way. You may be wondering, again, if you're watching the video version, why I'm wearing no sleeves at all. It's not because it's the summer and it's hot. And
you're showing off your guns is what you're doing.
And I want to show off my tattoos. Also that, but because I just got a new tattoo done and I had to wash it this morning because I got it done yesterday, and apply lotion and like a tattoo balm on it.
Yeah.
And I mention it on the show because it's very topical to the show.
Yes.
I'm going to try and show it off. It's in my inner right arm.
There you go. It's a Game Boy.
For the listener, it's a Game Boy. Flying out of the Game Boy is a Mario mushroom and the Triforce.
And a Pokeball.
What is it? And a Pokeball.
Which I can sort of see. If I turn my head, I can see it behind it. But yes, it's a cartoon-style original Game Boy with 3 items sort of flying out of the screen. And the guy did an excellent job. It was kind of painful. I mean, I'm pretty used to tattoos, as you can see. I think I got, at this point, 15 total tattoos on me. I don't know, I lost count. But this one, because it has a lot of shading and a lot of shadows and details, the final hour took 6 hours about total. And the final hour, I was kind of suffering through that. It was,
I bet, especially on your inner arm like that.
Yeah, in the inner arm, the skin is very soft, and it's all basically like I don't have a lot of muscle there because I'm not a gym bro or anything. So it's very soft. It gets any kind of swelling is normal with tattoos, but in this particular area with my particular body composition, it got really swollen and really red and irritated, which is why I'm applying the balm and the lotion today. Hence why I'm not wearing any sleeves, because otherwise the cotton would just glue itself to the tattoo, and it's not ideal because you got to keep it clean and breathe in the oxygen just like the rest of us.
You also have to stay inside.
Yes.
So it's a good thing you got a new handheld to mess around with.
Also that, if I want to go to the beach, I got to be extremely careful because it's basically an open wound right now. Yeah. Final piece of follow-up, John. What's going on with the epilogue, folks?
Well, the SN operator is, in fact, 2 things. 1, it's for sale on their website for $60. 2, it's actually shipping. They say they got them into their warehouse on the 25th of May. So when this episode airs about a week before, I actually contacted them because it sounded to me from their updates like they would have already sent out shipping notices and I hadn't gotten one. And they said it'll be coming soon because they're basically sorting things in the warehouse. I think it's going to take a little longer from what I understand because the company is based in Romania, that people in Europe will get them first and then they'll ship out to the United States. So it'll probably be, with my luck, it'll probably be when I'm in California for WWDC, but probably in the next week or two they'll show up. But if you've been thinking about getting one of these, it is possible to order them now. So there's also a video that was done on Wolf Den that goes through the SN operator, kind of shows it off. So it might be worth checking that out too if you're.
It's a good video.
Curious.
Shout out Bob.
Yeah.
I think the price is right on that thing.
I think so too.
It's $60 feels like a great price.
And they've done a lot of updates to their software too, I should say. I mean, not only does it now support both the Game Boy operator, the GB operator, it also supports the SN operator, but they've done a lot of other things in the recent months to add new features, save states. I think they've doing more with shaders, bunch of different things that are kind of quality of life for if you want to actually play the games on your computer instead of just, backing them up.
Nice. All right. In the news department, before we start talking about the RG Rotate, we should address the elephant in the room, which is, to be more precise, a $200 to $300 elephant in the room. It's the more expensive Steam Deck OLED, which is back in stock, and now it's more expensive than ever due to memory and storage crisis happening for the past year or so. The 12 gigabyte OLED has jumped from $549 to $789, and the 1 terabyte Steam Deck OLED, which is the one that I have, that I think you guys also have, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't have a Steam Deck anymore, but when I did, that was the one I had.
Has jumped from $649 to $949. Oof.
The cheapest one you can officially get from Valve right now is $649, which is a refurbished 512 gigabyte. But that is still obviously more expensive than the original $400 that the Steam Deck launched at.
Right. Yeah,
it's brutal.
It's really brutal. This is a big jump.
Yeah.
It's not great. And, the dream of getting a Steam Deck for around $500, forget about that for the next couple of years, realistically. And now we're at a point where if you want to get a Steam Deck OLED with 1 terabyte, you're going to spend almost $1,000. And that's before considering even a dock for your TV, for example. So it's right there in the same ballpark as an ROG Ally X, I think, at this point. Obviously not as expensive as a Lenovo Legion Go 2, which is like, it starts at $1,500 or something at this point?
Yeah, although it was less when it was first announced, right?
It was less.
It was less. So they've all gone through this, right? And to give you an idea, two things I think are notable about this. One is just Sean Hollister's headline on The Verge is "The golden age of handheld gaming is already over," which just kind of paints an incredibly bleak picture, I think, in a lot of ways.
It's a good piece. He comes at it from a couple of different angles, and the one that he lands on, which I think is the right one, is like, there was an era where just get a Steam Deck was the refrain in like every forum, on every social media post, for anybody asking what PC handheld to get. It was like, just get a Steam Deck. Don't worry about the other stuff.
Yeah.
And when that goes out the window, where does that leave us? And that leaves us with a already niche product segment that is going to become even more niche and even more inaccessible to a wider group of people, which is the exact opposite thing you want if you are a person or a company trying to break into this sector.
Right. Exactly.
It just makes it worse for everybody.
And then there's the Reddit thread that points out the fact that it's cheaper to buy a Switch 2 with every single Nintendo game exclusive than it is to get a Steam Deck now, which won't be true in a few months, but right now it is true.
Yeah. Just to be clear, the 1 terabyte OLED version.
Yes, the 1 terabyte OLED version. Not
this is in pounds, also not in dollars. Right. But if you wanted to buy the 1 terabyte OLED Steam Deck right now, in the UK, it would be £779 British pounds. If you bought the Switch 2 and every single exclusive, it's £744.
Boy.
Boy.
Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, like the other takeaway from this is that it doesn't really bode well for the Steam machine at
That was
all.
my first thought. Yeah.
It doesn't at all.
If this is happening to the Steam Deck, which is a 4-year-old product, but can you imagine what the price of the Steam machine is going to be at this point?
Yeah. I truly, and I think I said this on the show before, I thought people were being delusional when they thought it was going to be $500 when it was first announced.
Yeah.
Even before all this stuff happened, I was thinking $700 to $800 at minimum, realistically. At this point, there are people still worried that it might be $1,000, and I'm like, buddy,
Yeah.
15
Go
minimum.
15 is where I'm thinking.
15 minimum. Yeah, 15 minimum. 15 for the base config. There's going to be 2 configurations, right?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so 2,000 for the top one.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look at all these components, whether it's RAM or storage. I mean, it's a double whammy because it's not just the RAM. I mean, I got the Rotate, I was glad that I had some micro SD cards sitting around because I used to buy them like candy because they cost almost nothing. But now they yeah, exactly. They're a lot more expensive now than they were.
Yeah.
I mean, and even except for in maybe the smallest configurations like 64 gig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I think the Steam machine is going to be brutal. I saw a Reddit thread this morning where people were like, should I wait for the new Xbox, the Helix, and get that instead of the Steam machine because that'll be cheaper? And I'm like, once again, delusional.
Yes. Don't compare it to today's Xbox prices. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is people are starting from the position of what the Xbox cost them like years ago, not what they would cost today if it were brand new.
And from what I know of the Helix, which I've been kind of tuning out, it's just going to be a very expensive PC
Yeah.
with an Xbox logo on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't understand that idea. Can we talk about better, funnier news?
Yeah, we can.
Can we talk about the RG Rotate?
We should.
Yes, cheaper news.
Much cheaper news, shipping directly from China to your doorstep.
Yes.
So we all got the RG Rotate, this funny, weird little handheld new device from Anbernic that sort of flips around, reveals controls below the screen. It's square-shaped. We talked about it at length before, all the controversy surrounding the lack of a headphone jack, the chipset, everything. I got it essentially 4 hours ago. I was able to set it up via John's method that involves leveraging AI and Android USB access to let the AI figure out file paths and copying and pasting stuff on your behalf. So you can just leave it running in the background. I gotta say, John, your skill that you shared privately with us worked perfectly. Thank you for the instructions. I loaded it up in Codex instead of Cloud Code, and it basically worked the same way. I was able to set it up, and I played for like 5 minutes of Street Fighter 2 on SNES. I lost. I've never been good at fighting games. I
Same.
played some Mario Kart Super Circuit for the GBA. I still got it. Kind of weird that you cannot drift in that game, but I still got it.
Yeah.
And I played 2 minutes or so of Pokemon Lazarus version 2 just to make sure that it was loading and applying my shaders correctly. I think, John, you probably used this one more.
A little bit more, yeah. I did. So I did kind of the same thing. I took what I had done and described before in NPC XL for the Thor and the Portal, and I just copied everything over onto the RG Rotate, with the exception of anything above a PS1 game. So it was just a limited subset and a lot faster process because all those other games are a lot bigger and a lot slower to load. So it really didn't take too long. I will say that when I don't know about you guys, but when I opened this up and took it out of the box, my initial thought was, oh, this is heavy. This is heavier than I expected it to be. Now, not in a bad way, kind of in a premium way, but you know, I think the reason it feels heavy is because it's so small, because I was kind of holding it with my Thor in one hand and the RG Rotate in the other hand, and they felt similar. But the thing is, that I think that the Thor is around 400 grams and the Rotate is about 300 grams. So there's a meaningful difference between them. But with the Rotate, it's all concentrated into this little square that sits in the palm of your hand. So I noticed that right away. But it isn't quite as chunky as I kind of feared it would be. And I was also surprised, I guess, by how loud the speaker is. The speaker is incredibly loud. Literally,
it's got to be loud considering it's a mono backfiring speaker. So
it does. Well, I mean, this morning I turned it on and I had it turned up for some reason, and my wife could hear it from all the way upstairs. I mean, it's like it. This is the kind of thing you'll hear throughout your house if it's turned up pretty high.
I was playing a game yesterday and I had to put the Rotate down for a second, and it was I laughed out loud when I put it down, and the whole thing muffled completely. It was completely muted.
I bet. Yeah. So backfiring speaker, not fantastic. The shoulder buttons are about what you would expect. They're flush, so a little hard to use. And I haven't tried installing the ones that came with it.
Can I interject?
Yeah. Have you done it?
I did it.
How hard was it?
It was unbelievably easy as long as you have the hexagonal screwdriver you need to do it. And I truly hated the flush shoulder buttons. I thought they were they're pretty bad to play with.
Yeah.
If you're not using this to play anything above like Game Boy, like if you got this as just a Game Boy, you're going to be fine without them, obviously, and you can use them just for hotkeys or whatever. But even for me, like I'm using hotkeys a lot usually when I'm playing games, I found myself either missing or not pressing the L2 and R2 buttons a lot, or enough that I ended up swapping them out. Took me probably 3 or 4 minutes total.
Oh, okay. Did you have to disconnect any ribbon cables or anything like that?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No, you unscrew the back, you pop the back off. There is a small cable connecting
the
main body to the back, so you just need to like kind of open it like a book and just leave one side this way.
Right.
But the shoulder buttons literally just slide out, and there's a piece of tape connecting both of them together. You just take L2 or R2 off the tape and then put the other one exactly where the old one was, and then just slide it right back in. It's very easy.
Okay, well, I'm doing that this afternoon then, because I don't really like these flush.
Definitely recommend.
Did you put the lanyard on yours? I put the lanyard on mine.
I
haven't done the lanyard. I've been thinking about doing the lanyard.
I've never been a lanyard person.
I haven't either, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll try the lanyard.
I think I might not even be a lanyard guy. I'm more of a charm guy. I might get a charm for it. I think probably going to be the thing for me, because I have charms on my like PSP and stuff. I think that might be the move.
Yeah,
for me, but I haven't done it. I will also say, in terms of things that come in the box, I have had a 0% hit rate with the screen protector. I don't know how it went for either of you guys, or if either of you put it on.
Oh, I didn't even bother. I figured it would just not. I always figured those are really cheap screen protectors that wouldn't work that great.
Yeah, so the one on my aluminum, or I guess my metal version of the Rotate, it's mostly fine, but there's a tiny bubble in the bottom right corner that won't go away. And I try, because it's a square, obviously, you could just kind of, put it wherever you want. You could orient it however you want. So I kept picking it up and moving it and being like, okay, maybe it's the screen, maybe it's something else. But no, there's always a bubble on one of the corners no matter what I do. And then the screen protector that came with the black one, huge bubble, would not go away. Like, it was clearly just like a defective screen protector.
Yeah.
And the fix, there are 2 fixes for that kind of thing, which I learned by doing a lot of Googling yesterday, in case you're wondering. One of them is you could actually put a little bit of like a cooking oil, like an olive oil or like a seed oil. You could put that on, and then that will actually fill in some micro gaps, which will get rid of the bubble. Didn't know about that. Kind of interesting. Didn't work. And then the other one is using a hairdryer, which I don't own. So I just threw the screen protector out, because I was like, at this point, I'm ruining the screen protector by applying and reapplying it and adding oil to it and all this other stuff and going on it, as if that would fix it.
I went into my garage and found a case from one of the old handhelds that I had bought a while back. I don't even know what it was, but it's almost perfect. It's rectangular. It's not square, but it fits in here well enough, which is good. That's how I'm going to protect mine when I'm carrying it in a bag, at least.
Yeah, there is an official case that you can get, which is funny. If you buy it on AliExpress and not on Anbernic's own website, you get the case, which is also funny. But it's pretty bulky. It's not, it's pretty bulky little case. And for me, I've said this many times. I got the Rotate with the intention that it would replace the Miyoo Flip for me. That was always the goal. Which, by the way, the Miyoo Flip has raised L2 and R2 buttons. So
Go
saying.
Miyoo.
Yeah. And this thing is just in my pocket all the time. It's getting banged around. It's in there with other stuff. Not my keys, obviously. I avoid that, but like it's in there with other stuff all the time. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this thing. You know, it's meant to be used. If it gets banged up,
I'm the same
cool
way.
that it's made of metal. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, I got to say that this hinge mechanism, at least on the aluminum one, is really nice. It feels really premium. It feels solid. It doesn't feel fragile. It doesn't feel like it's going to break. Having a screen this small and trying to set up Android with it is terrible.
Horrible.
The only things that I've done,
Type in your Wi-Fi password.
I typed in my Wi-Fi password, and then I typed in my Google password for the Play Store. That was horrible. And then after that, I just did it all connected to my Mac.
I think this is the worst setup process I've had for a handheld.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it's just
if I'm being like totally blunt, like I found it to be terrible just because of the screen size and the Android of it all. Like it just was not good. You know, all of us know our way around an Android handheld at this point. It's just literally the UI makes it a nightmare. And you're mistyping things all the time. I mean,
everything's
there's a lot
tiny. There's a lot of scrolling because the screen's so small. Yeah.
It's also Android 12.
That too.
We are now up to Android 17, so that gives you an idea.
On that note, actually, I think it's worth mentioning, I spent a lot of time during my setup process trying to download a bunch of apps because I promised on this very show I would use this as an everyday media device, as a media consumption device. So that means YouTube, and that means books, and that means music. So the first thing I tried to do was I tried to get the Kindle app on here because I was like, oh, it'd just be nice to log into my Kindle app because I know about Moon Reader Plus, great I think it's open source Android e-reader. I have a bunch of books that are not DRM'd that I can use if I want to. But I was like, let me just start with Kindle and just see what's going on there. Go onto the Play Store, Kindle, not supported. Yep. Okay, what do we do then? Find another way. Let's try the Amazon App Store. Doesn't load at all on this thing. Did not work. I had to go to, I forget what the website is, up to something. I'm like, do you know what I'm talking about already?
No, I don't. No. I had the same experience as you. I forget what it was that I was looking for that I was trying to download, but it didn't work either. There's a lot of stuff that's not going to work, I think. I did get Tailscale installed, so it's on my Tailscale network.
That's good. Up to Down. Uptodown.com.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Is a repository for basically every version of every APK. So if you wanted to go download like an earlier version of an app and not need to get it through the Play Store, you could do it that way. So I went and got a Kindle version from like
5 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago, I think. And installed that, and it ended up working just fine. So now I do have the Kindle app on my Rotate, and it works. Like it scales to the 1x1 screen. It actually looks really good. I was really surprised. I haven't really used it for reading at all yet, but that was like phase one of me realizing like, oh, I'm going to have a lot of problems here because almost every app I wanted to get off the Play Store didn't work.
Yep.
Because the first launcher I wanted to use, I had this like harebrained idea to use Niagara as the launcher. Because I love Niagara, and I thought if I could use Niagara to bump me, like if the apps I set in there were like Kindle, music, YouTube, and like Cocoon or another gaming front end, and I was very limited about the ROMs that I had on here, then I could tap into that and then have a pretty good selection of games to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And Niagara didn't work. Tried sideloading it. That also didn't work. Real messy. Really messy.
Yeah, I know. The thing for me was after I signed into the Play Store, you can go into your existing apps that you have on other devices just like you can with any mobile phone. And it immediately was like throwing up warnings all over the place. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. And it was one of those situations. Cocoon works fine. It actually looks quite nice. I've had no problems with it whatsoever. The screen is small enough that I think I've kind of settled between either a 2-row or 2 or 3 row layout for mine. Works out pretty well that way.
I did the same. I have it as a 2-row experience.
I don't have a launcher set up yet.
Yeah. I really didn't. Sometimes on Android devices, I do like just using QuickStep. I ended up really not enjoying the QuickStep experience on here. So I switched to a launcher, and it ended up being Cocoon at the end of the day. I also did install ESD on here just to see what that was like. And then I installed the MinUI theme because that kind of got closest to what I was thinking I wanted with Niagara. And it's really good. I liked it a lot. The one that I couldn't get to work, which I was really surprised by, was Cannoli.
Oh, really?
Which installed fine and then seems to work, but will not read any of the ROMs for some reason, which I find confusing. And then on the Cocoon end, I've noticed this on 2 devices, this one and the RGDS, both of which are notably like lower powered than something like the Thor, or a lot of the devices that Cocoon was initially built for. On Cocoon, on lower end devices, there's definitely a lot of UI latency when you're like scrolling through a big list of games. So if you have like 200 ROMs in a folder or something and you open it up, it's kind of hard to navigate. So I would say if you're going to use Cocoon, like make liberal use of a favorites folder or something like that. Just make sure that you're not like always scrolling through every single game every time. And the other thing that I find interesting, and this is I think more a bug than anything else, but also on lower spec devices, if you restart the device, there's a high probability that your theme won't load also.
I haven't seen that yet.
Your folder icons won't load. I have it, I've been restarting this device a lot, and every time I restart, I have to go back into Cocoon or into the theme section. And it's funny when you hit the theme section, it's like, oh yeah, there's a theme, and then you can watch it load each element of the theme one by one.
Right.
And then if you just change a setting and then change it back and then hit save again, it'll be fine for as long as you don't reset the device again. But I was really, really surprised that Cocoon looks and works so well on this. It is, to me at least right now, the obvious front end.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll set it up. I wanted to mention that I was able to set up shaders in RetroArch using codecs and John's technique of plugging in the device via USB. Essentially, you can just ask codecs to do some research for how RetroArch settings are supposed to work and how file paths and folders are supposed to work. And here's Pokemon Pinball for the Game Boy Color using the GBC pixel transparency shader.
Oh yeah, that looks
it looks glorious at full
It's the best
brightness.
shader.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And the aspect ratio for Game Boy on this is pretty much perfect. You do
it really
get
is.
some very narrow letterboxing going on with some pretty narrow black bars at the top and the bottom. And also, I forgot how weird the controls for Pokemon Pinball are.
They're weird, yeah.
Oh my god! But yeah, using this thing as a mini Game Boy with a swiveling display is pretty awesome. And I think what I'm gonna try next is load up Apple Music or Spotify for Android.
I want to do that too.
And see, I assume they're gonna work with USB-C earbuds, which I have from Apple. So it's gonna be it's gonna be the weirdest iPod ever, but it should work.
Yeah. I will also say on the subject of shaders and stuff and games to play, Game Boy Advance obviously has huge black bars on the top and bottom. I find that if you start playing a game for 55 seconds, you don't care anymore because the game is probably good. The big thing, which Russ talked about at Retro Game Core, and I think is the right move, and I will even take a step further. He talked about for Super Nintendo and NES going in and changing in RetroArch in the settings the scaling or the aspect ratio to 1:1 par, which basically means that each of the pixels are actually like perfect squares. 1:1 par, 8:7 aspect ratio. And then going into integer scaling, turning that on, and then changing it from underscaling, which is the default for RetroArch, to overscaling, and it'll cut off like some of the outside of the play screen.
Yeah.
But also, most games for those consoles were built with the idea of like CRTs are built in a couple in basically a million different ways.
Right.
You need to account for that in UI elements and on-screen elements. So basically for every single game I've tested, with very few exceptions, that works absolutely perfectly, fills up most of the screen, and looks great.
Yeah.
I'll take that a step further and say I also did it with PS1 as well.
Oh, okay.
So I was using DuckStation Standalone as my PS1 emulator, and now I'm doing it in RetroArch, so I can kind of do the same thing. You can do 1x1 par and then 4x3, but then also overscale it. And very similarly, because that was still an era where people were using CRTs, again, a lot of games have accounted for overscanning and overscaling. So
they have safe areas basically built into the game.
Yeah, exactly. I have tested a couple games. The one that I really want to test is like a Final Fantasy, and I want to see if the action menus are getting cut off anywhere. I think that's going to be the thing. But then also, when you're setting your overrides, you can set per game overrides. Right. So like a Final Fantasy, for example, you could just say like, "Don't do this.
Don't do it here." Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks great. I mean, honestly, I was expecting the bezels and the black bars and the pillar boxing and stuff to be a little bit obnoxious on this device with a 1x1 screen. It hasn't really been at all, actually.
No, it really hasn't even bothered me, and I haven't done any of the settings that you were just talking about. I mean, it hasn't bothered me a ton. That said, I haven't played a lot. I have done a little Game Boy Advance and a little Super Nintendo, and that's about it. That and then Game Boy itself. One thing, I guess, I have a question for you, Brendon. I don't know if you've tested this, but the first of all, the screen dims very aggressively and turns off very aggressively, which I think is good. I haven't gone hunting for settings, but on the other hand, it's got such a small battery that it's probably the best approach.
It's probably for the best. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. I have not used this for long enough unplugged to get a sense for the battery life. Have you, Brendon?
No. The most I used it again was on the subway yesterday when I was going to our boxing class, and that was like, I don't know. It was an hour, and it lasted the whole time, and I wasn't really worried about the battery at all. I think that the thing about the battery life, to me at least, is it would be nice if you didn't have to charge this thing overnight. But I mean, we all charge most things we own overnight, so I don't really mind that much. And then also because of the size of this device, and I think the way it will, at least speaking for myself, fit into my life. It is a device I will be playing for like an hour at most, usually, if I'm going to be playing stuff.
Same.
With it,
I think
or
that's probably
maybe
true.
2 hours at most. But like most handhelds of this size are not handhelds that I want to be playing for like 5 or 6 hours straight.
I can already tell you what the benefit of the lanyard is it's sitting here with the lanyard on my wrist. I can fiddle with the screen open and shut, and not worry about dropping it.
It's going to be a problem. Yeah, it's going to be an issue. The last system I'll talk about that was surprisingly great, by the way, is Nintendo DS.
Okay.
I was really surprised by it. Again, if you're playing games that like only require a single screen, it does take some setting up. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing with the Rotate overall is the amount of setup required is pretty intense. But once I had it where it was just showing one screen at a time, and then I could press R2 to just swap which screen was showing, awesome. Love it. Really great. I was playing Animal Crossing. I was playing Mario Kart. So good.
Yeah.
I was having a really good time with it, especially compared to the Flip, which, can run DS. It takes a little bit of doing to get it to run DS, but is not the best device for running DS and would frequently crash, which meant that Mr. Rossetti was yelling at me in Animal Crossing all the time. But I honestly, as far as a user experience perspective goes, the Rotate to me, once you get it set up, which again takes a lot of doing, is leaps and bounds beyond my experience running MinUI on the Miu Flip. And I do think this device very quickly has solidified itself as the thing that will replace the Miu Flip for me.
It's the real deal. That was my initial reaction to it. As soon as I got it up and running, I was like, this is really, I'm going to be using this a lot. This is a really cool little device. And especially once you get Cocoon on it, because look, the Android 12 of it all is a problem. You don't want to live in Android. Don't live like that, especially when it's Android 12.
Don't do that to yourself.
No, don't do it. Get Cocoon set up. Find the couple of non-game apps that you want in Cocoon so you can get to those easily, and then just live in Cocoon.
Yeah. I have on the bottom, I have pinned, I think right now is Firefox, which will probably go away once I'm done setting stuff up.
Yeah.
Firefox settings, Obtainium, and Kindle. are what I have there, and I'll probably get rid of Obtainium also and just put that on the home screen somewhere. But right now, I mean, I'm very happy with it. I do, there are very obvious misgivings about this device that are worth having, and there are a lot of reasons that people wouldn't like it, and totally valid. And I understand. Like I was watching this morning Joey's Retro Handhelds. Joey reviewed it. Hates this thing.
Really?
For all reasons
I hadn't
where
seen
like
that yet.
for all reasons where like if you have his priorities, like of course this is a bad device for you.
Yeah.
Like the screen, some of the stuff that he shouted out, I was like, you're absolutely right. The screen has a ton of ghosting on it, which I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but
I'm
noticed,
playing now, and now that
Yeah.
you mention it, I can see it actually.
you know how I caught it initially was my favorite set. This is also a very like, I think this is a hot take based on what I've seen. I love doing interframe blending on Game Boy handhelds in RetroArch. I think I usually turn it up like interframe blending accurate, which will basically like replicate the ghosting as it used to look on actual Game Boy hardware. I love that setting. If you turn it on the Rotate, everything just looks like a smeary blob because there's already ghosting
so you're doubling
on the
ghosting.
screen. Yeah, exactly. So that's not good. The metal, I don't know if you guys have had this issue, but as far as the metal Rotate goes, the D-pad is notably faulty for a lot of people. Increasingly, I'm seeing more and more reports of like, if you press left or right, sometimes it will also go up or down. Like it will be hitting diagonals, even if you're just doing left or right. I don't have that issue on mine. I was looking at a controller testing thing, and it was totally fine, which is good, but it seems like that's a problem.
Yeah.
And then, the speaker of it all, the 3.5 headphone jack of it all, like there are a lot of reasons to dislike this device. For my purposes, and it sounds like for both of your purposes as well, it's great. I mean, it serves exactly the niche that I needed it to, and I think will be my go-to handheld that I'll take with me every single day for probably as long as it takes for somebody else to release one that is as enticing or more enticing than this.
Yeah, for sure. I think the buttons are good, not great. I mean, I have not seen that issue. That would really be that would bum me out if mine were doing that. But
yeah,
I'm not playing games on this where I feel like the buttons make much of a difference one way or the other too. So
yeah. The most intense stuff I'm doing on here is like PS1 and Nintendo DS. Like even N64, I probably won't do as much just because, I mean, first of all, I have other handhelds that will probably run that stuff better, and I would rather have an analog stick for those, if I'm being honest. Even like, it's cool that it can run GameCube and PS2 stuff. I will put a GameCube and a PS2 game on here to test while I'm working on a review, and then I will probably delete them and never play them on here again. It just doesn't make sense to me.
right.
But I think for $100, it's kind of hard to beat what this device is capable of.
You should put Billy Hatcher on this thing.
I'll put Billy Hatcher's giant egg on my
See if it works.
Rotate.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right. Well, I think we're going to have more to say the more time we spend with this. This has been a lovely first impressions segment. In NPC XL, we are going to be talking about Brendon's new website.
Yeah,
Brendon has
which I can announce. Actually, by the time this episode comes out, it will be live for everybody. It's overworld.vg. You can go check it out. It's a news aggregator for video games, but we'll talk a little bit more about it in XL and where it came from.
Beautiful. All right. Well, John, take us home, please.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of NPC. You can find Mr. Brendon Bigley over at, where is it, Brendon? Where are you on the internet?
Wavelengths.online and also overworld.vg.
See, I'm going to have to learn that. I'm going to have to get the VG in there. And of course, into the Aether and other projects ongoing. And Federico and I are over at macstories.net. We will be heading out to California very soon, just days after this episode releases, to cover all of the developer topics happening with Apple for the summer and into the fall. And we're on social media. Just look for us there. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.